If I showed you two different versions of your life, laid out side by side like roads, one built on hesitation and fear, and the other on courage, I think you would be shocked at how different the destinations look. Because here's the truth. The smallest acts of courage, the ones you almost forget about, tiny decision points, they are the fork in the road. They decide who you become. But the tragic thing is, most of us don't even realize we're standing at that intersection until it's too late. Sometimes far too late. So let's run through the thought experiment. Let's imagine it. I want you to close your eyes for a moment and picture two distinct paths stretching into the distance. On the first path, hesitation and fear rule. You play it safe, very safe. You wait for that perfect time that never arrives. And along this road, regret is everywhere. Abandoned dreams lying in the ditch, opportunities passed like empty mile markers. You don't crash, you don't burn, you don't soar either. Life is safe, it's predictable, and it's small. Now on the second path, the path of courage, we'll call it. Doesn't look glamorous at first. Perhaps indistinguishable from the first. The road is rough, the map is incomplete. You can't see more than a few steps ahead. But each little decision, each act of courage, each time you whisper yes when fear says no, another piece of the map unfolds. And the further you go, the further you push, well, the more expansive the horizon becomes. It is a create your own ending novel. And again, at first, the difference between these two roads is not dramatic. It's not cinematic. It's subtle, almost invisible. But that difference is everything. The truth is, it's not the spotlight, larger than life, on the stage moments that define us. It's a culmination of unseen moments. It's when the crowd is gone, the lights are off, when you're left at home, alone with your own thoughts. That's when courage whispers. And I want to be clear, not the kind of courage that makes headlines. It's not the kind that trends on social media. It's the kind that says, hey, just one more step, because I know you can. Not to win or emerge triumphant, but simply to persist. And it's in that persistence, hidden, invisible to the world, that transformation lives. And I think as we look back on our own journeys, there probably won't be one clear path that, unveiled itself. At least not for me. I see dots. I see moments that seemed insignificant at the time, but when I connect them, they tell a story. And see, I'd be lying if I said I knew in the moment the weight those little decisions carried, the value that came from, my most painful moments, loneliest moments, embarrassing moments, the times I felt let down, but picked my head up and did this small thing, pushed forward, carried on. I get it now. those decisions weren't small. I see myself in that tiny Boston apartment, reflecting back to the beginning when it all started, sitting on the floor with a cheap microphone, recording words I wasn't sure anyone would ever hear. I see the nights I stayed up until 2 a.m., hitting upload, knowing, those videos were probably going to get 10 views at most. I see the risks I almost didn't take, the trips, conversations, decisions that could easily have been postponed or ignored. Each moment on its own felt small, almost irrelevant, but together they became the map. The famous Stoic, Marcus Aurelius, wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be, and be one." I think about that often, for the simple reminder that courage is not theory and it's not philosophy. It's practice. It's merely action. It's where the rubber hits the road in your life. Not the big speech. No. Just pressing record when no one's listening. When no one cares. It's not the viral video. It's the hundreds of uploads no one saw. The truth is, we are all carrying a map like this. Every decision you make, every nod to courage, it draws another line. And one day you'll look back and see the picture it created. The magic to others that seemingly culminated out of thin air. But that's not the case. I wanted to include this because this is one of the more cliche quotes floating around social media. I hear it all the time. Aristotle, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit." And well, the truth is, most of the cliches in life are cliche for a reason. When you think about it, and understand that excellence is not one grand performance or standing ovation. It's not the record-breaking moment or the medal ceremony. It becomes much more tangible, much more real, much more accessible to you. It's brushing your teeth every day. It's lacing up your shoes when no one's watching and going outside. It's choosing discipline over comfort, not once, but every day. Not because you have to, but because it's who you are. I think we overestimate the big events and simultaneously underestimate the little ones, right? But the little decisions, like I said, are everything. James Clear puts it beautifully, right? His book Atomic Habits has been on the bestsellers list for as long as I can remember, years at this point. In the way he talks about compounding, he says 1% better every day doesn't just add up, it multiplies. And I think courage, self-image, it's the same. Choosing to show up when you don't feel like it, it compounds. Choosing to speak when your voice shakes, it compounds. Choosing to forgive, to try again, to risk failure, it all compounds. Right? Think of a raindrop. One is nothing. But thousands, millions create rivers. Rivers carve valleys. Valleys shape landscapes. Every small act of courage compounds, and over time, those little nods build a life. And so if you're looking around at a life that has lost its meaning or is not the life you would have chosen, perhaps it's time to start nodding at the opportunity, to stepping into that courage, to rebuilding, rewiring, reframing what's around you. Right? Picture yourself in a storm. The rain hammering down, the wind howling, the road ahead a complete blur. Right? Like, that's life sometimes. We've all been there. Uncertainty, chaos, all the things. And in those storms, you don't need the entire roadmap. You don't need a final answer. You don't know exactly how long it'll last. All you need is the courage to nod once, to say, I'm still here and I'm still moving. And every time you do that, funny enough, the storm always ends. I'm sure you've had storms like that. I know I have. Staring out my window, wondering if I was wasting time. Asking myself if I was being delusional. And yet something inside always whispered, just one more. I attribute everything to that. So no matter how bad I felt or disappointed or discouraged, the door was never cracked. It was always shut. This is my world. And regardless of what happens, I can always do one more. Always. That whisper wasn't glamorous. It was never celebrated, but it was, in its own way, courage. Epictetus said, we cannot control the storm, only how we respond to it. And you don't need to leap it. Just endure. Sometimes responding to the storm isn't about conquering it, it's refusing to bow. Think about all your storms. Maybe it's a rejection email, bills piling up, the fight you had last night, the doubt in your head. What would one nod of courage look like for you today? Pressure off, right? Again, you're not leaping mountains. You're moving forward. You're finding the strength for one more. Sometimes it's just a whisper that says, not yet. Don't quit yet. There's more in you. And when you keep nodding long enough, you become someone different. The storm, it transformed you. Out there in the world, there is that myth of the big moment. It's just who we are as people, right? It's the excitement. We love big moments, buzzer beaters, billion-dollar ideas, overnight success stories. Those moments are essentially illusions. They're not beginnings. They're culminations. They're finish lines. They're the podium. One of my favorite stories I've ever told was the Spartans at Thermopylae, right? Those 300 men standing against an army of thousands. History remembers their defiance as one dramatic stand. But in truth, it wasn't one moment. It was countless small moments. I mean, picture it. Dawn in Greece, mist rolling in over the cliffs, torches flickering against the shield wall. 300 men locking arms, staring down an ocean of soldiers. Can you imagine the fear in their stomachs? The temptation to run? And yet they chose to stand their ground. To raise their shield one more time, to step forward when stepping back would be obviously easier, to lock arms with the man next to them. That's not luck. That wasn't pulled out of thin air. Courage there was not one act, it was every act, repeated until it became their legacy. Or think about some of the great inventors. Think a big name, Edison. We tell his story like he invented the light bulb one night with a stroke of brilliance. That's not how it happened. Imagine falling, failing, losing 10 times, then 100, then 1,000. Imagine walking back into the lab at 2 a.m. after another failed test. Imagine being laughed at, doubted, dismissed. But still, he persisted. Those thousands of failures were absolutely not a waste of time. They were the map unfolding. They were his path. And that's what we forget. The big moment is never big by itself. It's thousands of little nods stacked high enough to see the horizon, finally. And so if there's one thing to take from this, one idea, one thought, I hope you'll understand that transformation does not happen overnight. It can't. It doesn't happen because the world suddenly hands you a stage. It happens in the persistence no one else sees, what you do behind the curtain. And so, my challenge to you, take a walk to find time with yourself and ask, what is one small act of courage you can take this week? Not next year. Not when things, quote unquote, settle down. Not when you feel ready. This week. Because those little acts are not little, they are everything. They are the map you're carrying. They are the compass guiding you home. And a lot of potential goes untapped. A lot of opportunities disappear. A lot of greatness never materializes because people are waiting for the big moment. They're waiting for some crowd to appear. They're waiting for perfect conditions. This is life. You're not handed perfect conditions. You make them. Take this step in front of you, nod your head in the storm, and keep going. It'll feel lonely, it can be exhausting, but it will be worth it. There will be a moment where you look around and are so grateful that you kept going, words won't be able to articulate it. The little acts of courage will become your map. And that map will take you exactly where you need to go. There's a quote that states, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. Which means that your reaction is drastically more important than the circumstance. And that's critical to know. It's critical to understand that no one in life has more power over your own situation than you. And there's an old story that hits on this point exactly. There's a father and a daughter. And basically the daughter's complaining. She's complaining about life, how difficult things are. She doesn't know how she's going to make it in whatever it is she's doing. I mean, the bottom line is she's tired of the day-to-day, right? And her father gets this idea. He says, come with me into the kitchen. And he gets 3 pots of water, puts them on the stove and turns the burners on. As soon as they start boiling, he drops a potato in the first one, an egg in the second one, and some coffee beans in the third one. And after some time goes by and they boil a little bit, he pulls them out, right? He puts the potato in a bowl, he puts the egg in a bowl, and he takes a ladle and he puts some of the coffee in a cup. And he says, what do you see? She says, well, I see a potato, I see eggs, and I see coffee. He says, yeah, but look closer. There's more there. And she goes and she touches the potato and it's now soft. And he hands her the bowl with the boiled egg. And she takes the shell off and breaks it open. She sees that it's hard inside. Then finally he asks her to take a sip of the coffee. And, she smells it. She takes a sip and a smile comes to her face. She says, so what does all this mean? What are you trying to say? And he says, well, the potato, when I dropped it in the water, it was rigid, it was tough, it was uncompromising. But in the boiling water, it became soft, weak. Then you have the egg that was basically the opposite. This delicate layer protecting a liquid center, and the boiling water made it hard. And then there was the coffee that wasn't just changed by the situation. It created something new. It took the same adversity and used it as a lever to bring something beautiful into existence. He then looks at his daughter and says, look, when things become challenging, when things become difficult, which one are you? What's your approach? See, maybe the question is not about how challenging the situation is, right? Maybe we've been asking the wrong question. Maybe it's, how do you transform yourself and by default, the world around you? How do you take your strengths, your values, your loves, your joys, your happiness, and let that lead you into something bigger? When life gets hard, and it does, what do you become? I always remind myself, we are not defined by life at peak state. As much as I wish that were the case, right? We're not shaped by the easy days or the times that we floated by. Because those times are great, they're enjoyable, but they're not what make or break us. It's the times that challenge us and ask us to be what we have not yet become. That's the good stuff. And this is another one of those, simple but not easy type things, because on paper it makes sense, it's understood. But it's an outlook that manifests over time. It's slowly stacked piece by piece and brick by brick, realizing that every situation provides you with tools to make something out of an apparent nothing. And then it waits. Right? Because fate is in your hands. And I can certainly think of, times in my life, that's one of the reasons I love these stories. I can reflect where each one of those pots of boiling water was relevant, right? I can think of times I was too headstrong, like the metaphorical potato. I thought success would be easy. I thought projects would be simple to execute. I spent months doing things that just weren't good because I didn't ask, what does the world need? I asked myself, what do I want to give the world? And there has to be a marriage there, right? And it was a quick reminder that the world owes me nothing. I was humbled or softened, as the story goes. I've been the egg, I've been timid, I've been uncertain, thin-skinned, worrying about what people would say or the content I was creating, worried about perception. How would things look if I failed? And very quickly, I learned that when life is a game of comparison or one-upmanship, when you do things for reasons and people other than yourself, can't win. You overcompensate. You do things for the wrong reasons and you lose yourself. You become hardened. And then there's the good stuff, right? Getting to the coffee, not bowing down to the circumstances, but shaping them. Not letting life dictate how the story goes or the fate of your character. And what's interesting is I'm pretty sure that being that metaphorical egg and the potato, they lay the foundation to become the coffee, the life lessons, the falling down, the picking my ego up off the floor, learning to trust myself, not be led by the opinions and expectations of others. You essentially learn that you can take the world around you and change it, that it is malleable, it is flexible. You have that power. You have that ability. It's up to you to believe it. And that's critical because no one comes along and co-signs that understanding for you. It's an internal process. You start to learn that things aren't there to provide instruction. They're there to propel you. But can you see the unknown as the opportunity, the obstacle as the way, and the loss as the armor that you pick up during the journey? And so, all of these words essentially come to one point. And that point is you have so much more control over your life than you think you do. As I've said before, you are stronger than you think you are. You are more resilient than you can even imagine. And when life tests you, and again, it will, remember that the challenges are not happening to you, but for you. The world isn't taking away what you have, it's giving you what you need. So long as you're willing to adapt with it, to grow, expand out. Because you not only have the ability to change yourself, but the world as well. If you're lucky enough to be different, don't let go. I spend a lot of my time and energy exploring the power of perspective, how our reality is determined by how we interpret what's in front of us. How one person can look at one thing and see pain or a problem or a barrier, and another person can look at that exact same thing and see opportunity or a future win or a bridge to something better. And I think one of the best examples of this is how we perceive those qualities that make us unique. Those things that put us in a different category. Maybe we're a little hesitant to fully embrace because they're not common. And when it comes to that which separates us from everyone else, well, I believe we have a decision to make. I'm going to go back to Robert Frost's fork in the road, right? He says, 2 paths diverged in a wood. I took the one least traveled by, and that made all the difference. On the surface, you could easily brush this off as trivial. It's like, oh, nice, that's cute. He took the path less traveled by. But what does that mean? As it turns out, it means a lot. It means instead of burying what makes him different, he made it his battle cry. Instead of slipping under the radar and sneaking through life like so many of us do, he signed the dotted line for the pain of being a beginner, the struggle of being uncertain, the discipline and sometimes torturous road that is turning a passion into excellence, trading peace of mind for the pursuit of meaning in life. Exploring what makes you unique, it takes courage. And in that message, he chooses courage. Because it's not just that you're alone. Taking that path means every step of the way, your mind screams at you reminders that you're alone. It's not just fighting traffic patterns, it's fighting your DNA. It's resisting that impulse to please sit down, shut up, and blend in. So is it a trivial decision? I'd say not really. Maybe even the most important decision you can make. Because I promise you it's not your commonality with those around you that will bring fulfillment, that will leave a mark on your life and the world that surrounds you. No, it's that thing that's unequivocally you, that's a little out there, that's somewhat strange, that you don't know why, but its gravitational force pulls and pulls and pulls. A tug of war, where one side begs you to just relax, conform, do less, begs you to never be laughed at or criticized, to take the easy road. Then you have the other side, poking, prodding, asking you, hey, yeah, but what if? What if you sacrificed the comfort of right now? What if you explored? What if you took that which you love and you ran with it? What if you worked for a delayed payday? What if for a moment in time, when people ask you what the plan is, you have to look back and say, you know what, I'm not quite sure what I'm building, But I'll keep pivoting until it's so clear you can see it from the moon. Those are the paths that pull us apart. And every time I've lost my way, it's because I've doubted my unique path. And I mean that every time. It's when I become impatient with the journey or look around and see someone else winning in a different arena using different methods, different strategies, see the latest trends and success formulas. Hey man, I want part of that, right? I'm human. I want to win. I want to succeed. But just like a little opening is enough to let in the outside water that sinks the boat, well, a little bit of doubt is enough to derail your process. A process that you have to believe in, protect, nurture. A process that I've come to separate into two pieces. Number one, believing that the exploration of that thing that makes you unique, it's valuable. That your abilities mean something. They're not inconsequential. They're not stupid or trivial or unnecessary. If it means something to you, it will most certainly mean something to others. And you bringing it to life not only helps yourself evolve, grow, flourish, it helps the world. You just have to believe that enough to bring it to life. That's number one. Number two, trusting that as long as you don't stop in pursuit of your unique self, you can't lose. You can't lose. And I don't mean continuing to ram a square peg into a round hole. I mean growing, learning, experimenting, seeing what works. There's a saying that when you hit a dead end, it's not that the goal or the dream should be abandoned. It means the plan needs to be changed or adjusted. And as you get better and more experienced and continually work to adjust your strategy and your plans, learn from your mistakes, it becomes a matter of time. You increase the odds with every step forward. Being different is the most precious thing afforded to you. But to realize that miracle requires a combination of both the mythical and the practical, the imaginary and the real. Dream that dream, visualize that growth, create a world out of those ideas that don't exist yet. But also understand that the conversion process from dream to reality is a practical one. It requires repetition. Learning, losing, adjusting, and people don't like that. It's much easier to blend in than spend years pushing through the agony of setting yourself apart. But it's worth it. And the evidence is so obvious, so plainly pointing to the fact that we only celebrate the outcasts, the crazy ones. We sit around campfires, listen to lectures, watch movies and documentaries about the people that had every reason to doubt themselves but kept moving forward. About the people who could have swept their unique abilities under the rug, but instead used them as their foundation for everything. Not being distracted by what's popular or how anyone else lives or operates. Not seeking to be anyone but themselves, knowing that that is enough. Knowing it's the seed to something precious. The only question is, will you provide the right conditions and nourishment for that little seed to grow? Will you do what so few people have the courage to do? Let their authentic selves shine through. Let who they are emerge. Emerson has a quote. He says, "To be yourself in a world that's constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment." He goes on to say, "My life should be unique. It should be an alms, a battle, a conquest, a medicine." And see, perpetual happiness is a fool's errand. No, life is full of trials and tribulations and ups and downs. But fulfillment comes from that quest for meaning, for more, for building something, for creating your unique self, a process, a pursuit that must be chiseled from stone. It's never given or provided, it has to be found. Take it. And as Emerson beautifully implies, now is the time. The question is, what are you going to make with this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? What will you make of the possibilities that only you know, only you understand, that only you can bring to life? Never doubt yourself, or your gifts, or the things that set you apart. You don't need everyone else to believe in them. You just need to convince yourself. Everything else, it falls right into place. I woke up this morning to this songbird, singing her sweet melodies like only she knows how. Perched above the street, looking down at the people, the cars, but somehow indifferent to all that below. Like her heart was fully immersed in her song. As I got out of bed, opened the curtains, and let the early morning sun make its way into my room, I reveled in the moment. It was both simple and perfect, two things that often go hand in hand. And as I made my way to the kitchen for that cup of coffee, I had a thought. That little songbird out there, she'll never understand how beautiful she is. She'll never know that she made my morning just a little brighter, or that she helped lift my spirits after a less than ideal yesterday. No, she's just doing her. And in return, making a mark on a world that needs what she has to give. So what? Well, maybe there's something we can learn from the songbird as we go about making our way in the world. As far as I'm concerned, there have been two great challenges in my life: finding my song, and then finding the courage to sing it. Or perhaps put another way, discovering who you are, and then holding on tight in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else, as Emerson said, is the greatest accomplishment. It will always be a challenge to bring our thoughts to life because, well, people tend to only see what's placed right in front of them. And it's just not realistic to place tomorrow at someone's feet, but here's the magic. I don't think that songbird cares about being realistic. See, over time, we've done quite the dance, reality and I. Like a tug of war on where to lean and where to pull. What's worth my time, what's not, when to stay and when to go. It's a gray area that I've had to work through, and I know others have as well, trying something new, taking a risk, sharing their art with the world, going down a path with a high probability of failure. You know, when maybe we think we've found our song and we're singing, but no one seems to hear her. That's when the status quo has never looked so tempting, so ideal. When settling for the easy path has never seemed so appealing. No, never as appealing as when our songs seem to get lost in the ether. We know how hard it is to give a piece of ourselves to the world, and it seems odd not to get something back. But you know, I think this is when you must sing. with all your heart and soul. Just like that songbird, indifferent to life below the branches of its tree. Well, so should you be to the factors existing outside the realm of what's best for you. It's not easy to uncover what makes you feel alive, and when you find that, live it. Own it, sing it at the top of your lungs, because it may seem like it's falling on deaf ears. But you just might be someone else's songbird, oblivious, like my feathered friend outside, to the beauty you are creating by just being you. By sharing what means the most to you with the world that, whether you realize it or not, needs to hear your song. So songbird, sing. Yeah, for you, but also for the world.